You ever notice how the world teaches you to apologize before you even speak? Like every step you take comes with a quiet little sorry tucked underneath it. Sorry for interrupting. Sorry for asking. Sorry for wanting something different. Sorry for being too much. Sorry for being too little. It's almost funny, isn't it? How people walk around acting like they're intruders in their own lives, like they need permission slips just to exist. And the wild part, most of the time, nobody even asked for the apology. You hand it out like free candy, because somewhere along the line you learned that shrinking yourself keeps everything peaceful, predictable, controlled. But here's the twist. The moment you stop apologizing for existing, the whole game changes. Not because the world changes, but because you do. People aren't used to it. Someone standing tall, without flinching. Someone looking them in the eye without that nervous little flurry of guilt. They tilt their heads, they squint, they get confused. Because confidence, real confidence, is unsettling when they've only ever seen you play small. They wonder what happened. They wonder what switched. They wonder why you're no longer kneeling at the altar of their comfort. And maybe they'll say you've changed. Maybe they'll whisper that you're getting bold now. Different. Oh, the horror. Someone being themselves without asking for permission. But that's the thing about not apologizing. You're not being rude. You're not being reckless. You're just no longer editing your existence to fit inside someone else's narrow idea of who you should be. Every time you resist the urge to apologize for something that isn't wrong, your voice, your needs, your presence, you reclaim a little piece of yourself that you gave away without noticing. Think about all those moments you said, sorry, when what you really meant was, I'm here. Someone bumps into you, and you're the one blurting out the apology like you caused the collision. You take up a bit of space in a room, and suddenly you feel the need to justify your own body. You express a feeling and instantly backtrack so no one gets uncomfortable. It becomes a habit, a reflex, a programmed response to imagined judgment. And you don't even realize how much it drains you until you stop doing it. And stopping isn't loud or dramatic. It's simple. You catch yourself. You pause. You swallow the apology before it slips off your tongue out of muscle memory. You replace it with truth. You replace it with presence. You replace it with a silent declaration that you are allowed to be here, to speak, to take up air and time and space like every other person who walks this earth. The first few times feel strange, almost rebellious. Your brain panics, convinced someone will scold you like a child stepping out of line. But nobody comes. The world keeps spinning, and you realize you were never the problem. The sorry was. Slowly, the apology evaporates from your vocabulary where it never belonged in the first place. You speak without shrinking. You move without second-guessing. You exist without flinching. And that's when a funny thing happens. People start treating you the way you treat yourself, with respect, not entitlement, with awareness, not assumption. They can feel when someone knows their worth, and they behave accordingly, or they disappear. Either outcome is a win. Because the moment you stop apologizing simply for being alive, you stop living like a ghost in your own story. You step into the frame. You take your rightful space. You breathe deeper, stand taller, laugh louder, think clearer. Not because you've become someone new, but because you finally stopped dimming the someone you always were. You ever notice how people cling to approval like it's oxygen? Like they can't take a single step unless someone somewhere nods in their direction and says, good job. Keep going. You're acceptable today. It's almost tragic how addictive that little hit of validation becomes. You mold your smile, your thoughts, your whole personality just to hear someone else applaud. And the irony. Half the time those people don't even know what they want from themselves, let alone you. Yet you hand them the remote control to your identity and wait for them to decide whether you're allowed to feel good about who you are. It's a strange little circus act, bending and twisting just to earn a pat on the head. But something strange happens the moment you decide to choose authenticity over approval. At first, it feels like stepping out into the cold without a coat. That shiver of uncertainty hits you. You wonder if you're doing something wrong because suddenly you're not performing. You're not rehearsing your lines, not tilting your head just right Not softening your truth so it lands gentle on fragile egos. You're just being you, unfiltered, unpolished, uncoached. Raw. And raw tends to scare people who've grown comfortable consuming the watered-down version of you. They start to notice the difference. You speak your mind with a calmness that shocks even you. You don't cling to their reactions like a lifeline. You don't scramble to fix the mood in the room when someone frowns. You just sit there, breathing, existing, unbothered. And that unsettles them, because people who crave control lose their grip when the puppet cuts its own strings. They tilt their heads, trying to figure out when exactly you became someone who doesn't crumble at the slightest hint of disappointment. They poke, they test, they push, waiting for the old version of you to come crawling back. But authenticity doesn't crawl. It stands tall, even on shaky legs, and here's the funny part. Choosing authenticity doesn't make you louder. It makes you clearer. You don't need to shout to be heard anymore. Your presence carries weight because you're not begging for approval with every breath. You're not tailoring your truth to fit someone else's comfort. You're not sanding down your edges so nobody gets scratched. You finally accept that not everyone will clap for you, and you stop needing them to. That freedom tastes strange at first, almost dangerous, but oh, does it grow on you? You begin to notice how many of your old habits were built around pleasing people who never bothered to understand you. Every forced smile, every swallowed opinion, every moment of silence when your soul wanted to scream, all of it was a tribute to people who didn't earn that kind of power. And when you stop paying that tribute, you start seeing your own reflection differently. It's sharper, more honest, less apologetic. You recognize the person staring back at you, not as who you were told to be, but who you always were underneath the layers of approval. Seeking paint and authenticity attracts something approval never will: real connection. People who resonate with your truth gravitate toward you naturally. No performance required. Meanwhile, the ones who only loved you when you were easy, quiet, compliant, they drift away, confused and uncomfortable. Let them drift. Their absence creates space. Space for breath. Space for boundaries. Space for a life that feels like yours instead of a script written by other people's expectations. Choosing authenticity over approval isn't about being rebellious, rude, or chaotic. It's about finally understanding that your worth isn't a rating score that rises and falls based on applause. You step into the world without needing 1,000 hands clapping in the background. You walk forward, not because someone approved your path, but because it's yours. You ever notice how the word yes slips out of some people's mouths faster than their own heartbeat? Automatic, mechanical, like a reflex they never learned to control. Someone asks for a favor, and before the thought even finishes forming in your mind, your lips are already giving away your time, your energy, your peace. It's almost funny how you can hand out pieces of yourself like free samples while telling yourself it's no big deal. Just a little thing. Just this once. Just trying to help. But you and I both know that just this once has turned into every single time, so smoothly you didn't even feel the knife of it. Automatic yes. It sounds harmless, doesn't it? Like it belongs next to politeness and kindness, and all those pretty little words society loves to decorate you with. But automatic yes isn't kindness. It's a cage. A quiet, polite prison disguised as good manners. You keep saying yes because it keeps things calm, keeps people happy, keeps you from feeling that little jolt of guilt, that fear that someone might think you're selfish or difficult or, oh no, the villain of their story. So you swallow your discomfort like medicine. You nod. You agree. You ignore the voice inside you screaming that you're stretching yourself thin again. But there's a funny thing about stretching. Eventually, something snaps. And when it does, it's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's a whisper, a moment, a flicker. You feel it the first time you pause before saying yes. The first time you feel the word forming on your tongue, and you catch it before it escapes, like grabbing a thief in the dark. You hold it there and realize you don't owe anyone that instant obedience. You don't owe anyone your automatic acceptance of their demands. You don't owe anyone your life force just because they asked for it with a smile. And oh, the look on people's faces when you stop being predictable. When you stop being the human vending machine that always spits out a yes. When they press your buttons, they blink, They hesitate. They wonder if you're all right. They wonder if you've changed. They wonder why the gears in the old machine aren't whirring the way they used to. It confuses them because your hesitation, even, is a disruption to the little ecosystem they built around your compliance. But that confusion, that discomfort, that's the good part. That's the moment they realize you're no longer operating on autopilot. You're awake now, conscious, present. You're choosing your responses like a person with a spine instead of a puppet with strings. When someone asks something of you, there's a beat of silence, not hesitation out of fear, but calculation out of self-respect. You're weighing your energy, your time, your boundaries. You're deciding if this request deserves a slice of your life, or if it belongs in the trash with all the other burdens you used to carry out of obligation, and when the answer is no, you say it. Not cruelly, not angrily, just clearly, cleanly, like someone who finally remembered that their life is their own. No apologies, no trembling explanations, just the truth. And the truth feels strange at first, sharp, bold, electric. But it's yours, and it feels more honest than every fake yes you ever forced out of your throat. Breaking the habit of automatic yes doesn't make you selfish. It makes you sovereign. It gives you back the hours you wasted pleasing people who never noticed the cost. It gives you back the parts of yourself you sacrificed to avoid disappointing others. It shows the world that you're done being a doormat dressed up as a nice person. You're done trading your sanity for a scrap of approval. You're no longer a reflex wearing human skin. You're a choice, a voice, a presence that moves with intention instead of instinct. And once you break that habit, once you reclaim that word no and hold it in your hand, like a weapon forged out of self-worth, everything shifts. People treat you differently. You treat yourself differently. The world looks at you and sees someone who is no longer available on demand, no longer a reservoir they can drain whenever they're thirsty. You become someone who answers consciously, not compliantly. Someone who gives from overflow. Someone who understands that saying no to others is sometimes the only way to say yes to yourself. You ever notice how people talk about protecting their energy like it's some mystical thing, some luxury reserved for monks on a mountain or people with nothing better to do? Meanwhile, you're out here giving your energy away like you're running a clearance sale. Every complaint, every crisis, every emotional leech gets a piece of you, and you don't even question it. You tell yourself you're being supportive, being understanding, being a good person, but deep down, you know what's really happening. You're bleeding yourself dry to keep everyone else comfortable, calm, intact. It's wild how fast people learn to take advantage of a generous soul. The moment they realize you're always available, always listening, always fixing problems that aren't yours, they get comfortable. Oh, they get very comfortable. They start walking into your life with muddy shoes, dropping their chaos on your clean floor, expecting you to sweep it all up with a smile. And you do it, because you've been conditioned to believe that saying no or stepping back makes you cruel. But protecting your energy isn't cruelty. It's clarity. There comes a moment, a beautiful, unsettling moment, when you finally feel the weight of all those uninvited burdens on your shoulders. You look at your own reflection, and it hits you. You're exhausted not because life is hard, but because you're carrying responsibilities that don't belong to you. Emotional baggage with other people's names on the tags. Stress that didn't originate in your mind. Battles that weren't assigned to you. And once you see it, truly see it, you can't unsee it. It begins to gnaw at you, whisper to you. Press against your ribs like a truth begging to be acknowledged, so you start pulling back. Not dramatically. Not with fireworks, quietly. Intentionally, you stop picking up the phone every time it rings. You stop absorbing every emotion in the room until you're drowning in feelings that aren't yours. You stop letting every sad story or bad mood eat at your spirit like acid. You start asking yourself a question you never thought you had the right to ask. Does this drain me? And if the answer is yes, you step back. Not because you're heartless, but because you finally understand you were never built to be everyone's emotional dumpster. And oh, how the world reacts when you start guarding your energy. People who were used to dipping into your reserves look confused, offended even. They mistake boundaries for rejection. They mistake your silence for distance. They mistake your self-respect for arrogance. They don't see the years you spent overextending yourself until you were stretched thinner than truth in a politician's speech. They only see that the unlimited access they enjoyed is suddenly restricted, and their discomfort is almost comedic. They glare, they grumble, they guilt-trip. They throw around lines like, "You've changed," because they don't want to admit they were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. But protecting your energy isn't about pushing people away. It's about choosing who gets close enough to matter. It's about understanding that your peace is not a community pool for anyone to splash their chaos into. It's about realizing that giving is just another form of self-abandonment dressed up as kindness. You can care without carrying. You can listen without absorbing. You can help without sacrificing your mental and emotional freedom. And once you taste that freedom, it's intoxicating. Your energy is finite, no matter how big your heart is. And when you stop letting everyone feed off you, you finally have enough left for yourself. Enough to think clearly, enough to grow, enough to breathe without feeling someone else's expectations tight around your throat. You start to feel grounded, sharper, more alive, and people who truly value you, the real you, learn to respect those boundaries. They adjust. They meet you where you are instead of demanding you crawl back to where they're comfortable. Protecting your energy without guilt means understanding that your well-being is not negotiable. You don't have to justify the space you take, the boundaries you set, or the peace you choose. You don't have to drown so someone else can stay afloat. You're allowed to walk away from conversations, relationships, patterns, and environments that suffocate your spirit. You're allowed to preserve your power like it's something sacred, because it is. You ever notice how people treat discomfort like it's poison? The slightest hint of it, and they scramble, panic, retreat back into the soft little bubble where nothing challenges them, nothing pushes them, nothing forces them to question who they are. They cling to comfort like it's safety, when really it's just a slow, quiet kind of suffocation. Because nothing grows in comfort. Nothing sharpens there. Nothing evolves. Comfort is where potential goes to sleep with a smile on its face, thinking it's living the good life, but discomfort, that's where the magic creeps in. Not the pretty kind of magic, no, the gritty kind. The kind that scrapes your pride and exposes your truth. The kind that makes your stomach drop and your pulse race, that forces you to confront the parts of yourself you'd rather hide behind a polite grin. Discomfort is the crack in the wall where the light gets in. The unpleasant little tug on your spirit that says, "Hey, you're capable of more than this." And most people run from it like cowards, mistaking the call to grow for an attack. But the ones who stay in that discomfort long enough, they transform. You start noticing it in the smallest moments. That conversation you don't want to have but need to. That boundary you're terrified to set because you know someone won't like it. That opportunity that scares you because it demands a bigger version of you. Every instinct screams, go back, shrink, stay small, stay safe. But something beneath that fear, something ancient and hungry, whispers, move forward. And that whisper is the truth. All growth starts with a disruption. Think about how discomfort exposes people. The moment you stop pleasing them, stop rescuing them, stop playing the role they've cast you in, watch how quickly the mask slips. Some get angry. Some get cold. Some whisper behind your back because they can't handle the new you, the you that isn't bending anymore. Their reactions hurt, sure, but that sting, that's discomfort. And that discomfort is showing you exactly who they are. It's showing you who you've outgrown. It's showing you the path you were too scared to walk until now. And let's not pretend discomfort feels noble or glamorous. It's messy. It's awkward. It makes your hands shake and your voice tremble. It makes you question yourself, your decisions, your worth. But that trembling, that's evolution in real time. It's the old version of you dying a little so the new one can breathe. Growth never shows up wearing a smile. It shows up wearing a threat. And you either step into it or spend the rest of your life wondering what would have happened if you had people spend their lives avoiding discomfort, thinking that will keep them safe. But all it does is keep them stuck. They avoid the gym because it burns. They avoid honesty because it risks conflict. They avoid ambition because it requires sacrifice. They avoid healing because it hurts to dig up the truth. They avoid love because vulnerability is uncomfortable. They avoid boundaries because guilt feels uncomfortable. Their whole life becomes an escape room made out of their own fears, and they wonder why they never become the person they see in their dreams. But then there's you who's learning to lean into the fire instead of running from it. You who's finally realizing that every uncomfortable moment is a doorway. And the thing about doorways is this: you don't get what's on the other side unless you walk through. You don't build strength by staying weak. You don't build confidence by staying hidden. You don't build power by avoiding everything that challenges you. Power is forged in friction. Identity is carved in resistance. Breakthroughs are born in the exact moments you want to quit. And once you start using discomfort as a compass instead of a warning sign, everything shifts. You start recognizing that the things that scare you are often the things that free you. You stop looking for the easy path and start looking for the honest one. You stop pretending the little cage you built out of comfort is enough to contain the real you. Because the real you doesn't want comfort. The real you wants expansion, wants truth, wants evolution, wants a life that fits your spirit, not your fear. You ever notice how a new attitude doesn't arrive with fireworks or confetti? It slips in quietly, almost suspiciously. One day you wake up and something feels different. Not louder, not angrier, just clearer, like the fog finally lifted, and you can see the shape of yourself without everyone else's fingerprints smudged all over it. And suddenly this new attitude sits on you like a perfectly tailored suit, sharp, unapologetic, a little dangerous in the best possible way. It fits you so well it makes people stare. But here's the funny thing: they're not staring because you've become someone else. They're staring because you finally stopped hiding the person you were always meant to be. And that confidence, real confidence, makes people uneasy. They're used to the version of you who kept things neat, predictable, easy to handle. Now you walk into a room and you don't shrink. You don't soften. You don't apologize with your eyes before your mouth even opens. You carry yourself like someone who finally knows the value of their time, their energy, their presence. And that new attitude, oh, it radiates. It's not about arrogance. No, arrogance is loud, messy, insecure. This is different. This is the kind of energy that says, I know who I am, and I'm not negotiating that anymore. And people feel it. The ones who used to take advantage of you suddenly don't know how to approach you. The ones who used to test your boundaries suddenly hesitate. The ones who used to expect you to bend start realizing the bending days are over. They sense the shift. They sense the power. They sense that you're no longer someone who can be talked down, guilted, or manipulated into abandoning yourself. And let's talk about that look on you. The look people can't quite name. It's not anger. It's not rebellion. It's self-respect. It's the quiet thrill of someone who's finally stepped into alignment with their truth. It's the glow of freedom after years of suffocating under everyone's expectations. It's the smirk of someone who learned that being true to yourself is far more satisfying than being liked by everyone. This new attitude isn't just a change, it's an awakening. You start moving differently, not rushed, not frantic, not scrambling to keep up with demands that never should have been yours. You walk with purpose. You speak with intention. You choose your battles instead of being dragged into them. And the most beautiful part, you stop seeking validation from people who don't even validate themselves. You stop shrinking to accommodate insecurities that never belonged to you in the first place. You stop negotiating your worth at tables where you were the only one offering anything of value. And people will try to label this transformation. They'll say you're acting strange, acting bold, acting distant. They'll come up with all sorts of stories because they can't understand a version of you they can't control. Let them talk. Their confusion is just proof that your new attitude is doing exactly what it's meant to. Disrupting old patterns, breaking old dynamics, shaking loose everything and everyone who benefited from the smaller you. There's something intoxicating about finally wearing your truth on your skin instead of hiding it in your chest. You start realizing that your boundaries aren't walls, they're doors, and you decide who gets access. You start recognizing that your confidence isn't a threat, It's a filter. And it filters out the people who were only drawn to you when you were easy to underestimate. You start seeing that your new attitude isn't just a phase, it's a declaration. You're done dimming. You're done folding. You're done being the version of yourself designed to make other people comfortable. And once you embrace that fully, once you let that new attitude settle into your bones, something incredible happens. You stop being afraid of losing people. You start being afraid of losing yourself again. You stop chasing approval. You start chasing alignment. You stop performing. You start living. And every step you take with this new attitude becomes a reminder that you've finally arrived. As yourself, for yourself, unapologetically, undeniably, unquestionably you,